What's good, YouTube? I'm back with a trade breakdown. I actually did not execute this trade, but I'm just going to share this trade idea playing out because it's a perfect example of my setup playing out how it should play out. So let's not even talk too much. Let's just go straight into the breakdown. So first, I'm going to delete everything on the chart so that I can walk you through exactly what I was saying at the time of doing the analysis and taking this trade. This trade actually took a loss on my first entry. I wasn't able to execute it because I was not in the right headspace. I went on like a drift the last couple of weeks. My head has been messed up with the whole strategy P. But I feel like I've gotten my clarity back now, so that's why I'm doing this trade breakdown. So on the 4 hour time frame, I noticed CHFJPY had this massive fall off, and it needed to this massive fall off was like almost 1,000 pips at the time. So I noticed that and I began to pay attention that price was going to pull back or retrace. So after I noticed that pattern, I simply waited for price to start breaking structure to the upside. So you can see over here, we had a break of structure here. Just a moment. All of this is a higher high. We had a break of structure here. We had a little pullback. We had another break of structure. Then we had a pullback. Then we had the break of structure. So I began to notice price was breaking structure to the upside, which means we're looking for buys because market structure is actually the base of my strategy. If I can try to predict or align my trade idea with the 4 hour structure, I think I'm good. So after I noticed that price was trending upwards, so I already have there are three pillars to my strategy. You have your directional bias, you have your point of interest, then you have your entry signal. So my directional bias is already checked. I have that I'm looking for buys, which is my bullish trade idea. So the next step is point of interest. Where am I looking to buy from? And if you look close, there's a clean level of break and retest that played out here. So initial support, expecting price to come back and serve as resistance. So as you can see, this was initially a resistance zone. Price broke above it. My strategy demands that when price comes back, it serves as support. It doesn't always play out, but when I'm able to execute my strategy, this particular setup, I have a high win rate. So after price tapped into my POI, which is point of interest, the next step is to drop into the lower time frames and start looking for entries. And the lower time frame I use for entries is 15 minutes. So I dropped to the 15 minutes time frame. I started studying the trend on the 15 minutes because price is fractal, which means whatever is happening on the higher time frame must have happened on the lower time frame first. So this was our initial dip off into structure, into our point of interest. This was a massive sell-off. There must have been some sort of news during London session. This green box represents London session. So after this sell-off, price has come to my point of interest. At this point, my job is to look for how to get into the buy trade idea. So price pulled back, which is a lower high. I noticed price started to form these lower highs and lower lows. This was a lower high. This was a lower low. This was a lower high. This was a lower low. This was a lower high. This was a lower low. So this is the second time price is touching my point of interest. So at this point, price gives us what? A higher high. So after a higher high, which is the market structure shift, that's basically my entry trigger. So after the higher high, I'm expecting a higher low to give me this higher high. So that's basically the trade idea. My strategy demands that I set a buy limit at this last level of support, which is basically the same higher time frame buy as playing out. So I set a buy limit here. Although I didn't execute this trade, but if I was executing this, how I would have approached it. I set a buy limit here, stop loss under my support level, and if you look closely, we got stopped out. So why, looking back in hindsight now, they were indicators for me not to take this trade, and I'm going to break it down for future purposes so I don't make the same mistake over again. So the moment price broke back below EMA, it simply signifies that price has switched bearish. What do I mean by that? Let me delete this real quick. 1 minute. So as you can see here, this was a higher high. price wasn't supposed to go below this EMA, because this EMA is supposed to serve as the support that takes price up. So if you notice, the moment price broke below it, already below here, the moment price broke below it is already an indication for me not to take this trade anymore. But it's what it is. We make mistakes. I like to give my trade ideas 2 opportunities to enter. So this was then another lower low. This was a lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Then price comes to POI for the 3rd time, which is our level of break and retest. Then give us a lower high, like a head and shoulders pattern basically. Then we got a higher high, retest of neckline into head and shoulders. That would have been our entry trigger. What do I mean by head and shoulders pattern? I hope you guys know what that is. This is left shoulder. This is a head. And this is a right shoulder. So after that, a buy limit on the neckline is blessed. So this would have been the entry. So now we have the 4-hour bullish bias, then we have the 15 minutes aligning with our 4-hour bias. So stop loss would have been on this low below EMA, 30 pip stop loss. 30 pip stop loss, they would have been targeting a 1 to 3, just like that, would have hit our take profit. So this is a nice trade I'm supposed to take, but the moment I noticed that my head wasn't clear last week, I just stayed away from the charts and I stopped executing my trade. So that the moment you lack clarity in trading, you're basically cooked, because you're all over the place. You no longer trust your setup. So I feel like my clarity is back now. Although during this process of lack of clarity, I almost blew my funded account. So one of them is like in 6% drawdown. The other one is like 2% drawdown. So the 6% one is basically gone. I'm just going to get another one and keep trying until I'm able to pass it. So now that I have my clarity back, I'm looking to execute these trades as clean as possible. And something to show you how much the clarity is back, I'm going to show you what I drew on my whiteboard. So on my whiteboard, if I don't know if this is clear, so you can see this is my 4-hour bias I just explained. Break, higher high, break and retest. This is my 15 minutes entry. Same thing here, same thing here. So that was all for the video. I'll see you guys in another trade breakdown. Peace.